Hello again, all you amazing people out there. It's Jerry K with another episode of Walking and Talking with Jerry K. Let's get some steps in, guys. I'm just going to cover a few thoughts today. Last few days have been emotional for me. I've covered some things in the last couple days through some other things that I've been doing that stirred up a lot of emotions. And then you've got the entire state of the world right now. I mean, the world seems like it is in a state of upheaval. Frankly, I'm getting sick of it. When it comes to the aspect of all this finger pointing as a way to justify what the atrocities that people are doing, we need as a species to wake up and stop doing this to each other. We need to stop doing this to each other. There is a difference between defending yourself and perpetrating horrific things in the name of anything. I don't care what it's in the name of. If it's horrific, it's not justifiable. Period. It's not justifiable. It's kind of funny. Ronald Reagan, if my memory's serving me correctly, made a speech to the UN when he was the president of the United States. And he talked about how quickly our differences would fade if we were faced with like a alien invasion, a potential takeover from an outside source. And it's kind of funny because if you think about it, if there are aliens, can you blame them for not making themselves known? I mean, look at what we've done to our own people that were alien to us throughout history. We enslave, we murder, we do this laundry list of horrific things to each other. And then we have the gall to sit there and wonder, well, if there is life in the universe besides ourselves, why wouldn't they make themselves known? I don't know, would you? I don't know if I would. Just thinking that people need to get to a point in their own minds when we stop using the past as a way to justify the horrific things we're doing now and in the future. I made a post on Facebook, actually, I think it was yesterday, and it said, too many people in life these days are living in the pain of the past instead of learning the lesson it was supposed to teach them and then continuing forward. When you live in the pain of the past, you're basically walking through life backwards because you're paying attention to the things that have happened instead of the things that are happening and the things that could happen. And I think when you end up doing that, the biggest result that ends up happening, think about it physically. Think about if you were walking backwards in life. A lot of the things that maybe you could have avoided had you seen them coming, you end up stumbling over. You're so focused on all the things that didn't work out for you that you actually manifest more of those same things. You've ever heard about the person who continues to get the same type of, in the same type of relationship? Well, that's because they're focusing on the past failed relationships, and that actually materializes a new failed relationship. Why? Because they didn't learn the lesson. They didn't learn what they were supposed to stop looking for and start looking for in another person. So what happens? They keep getting the exact same person in a different skin. But that's what happens when you walk backwards. You walk through life backwards, you're going to stumble a lot. So maybe what we need to do is, instead of living in the pain of the past, start understanding the lessons we were supposed to learn, start applying those lessons, start learning those lessons, and doing something different. Making better decisions for ourselves. Educated decisions. You know, it's funny, when you say the word education, a lot of people only think about school. But you know what? The school of life has taught you lessons your whole life. That you didn't need to sit in a classroom. There was no teacher at the front of the class. There was no blackboard. There was no homework. It was life. And life was that thing that was teaching you a lesson. Evidently, people are forgetting that life can teach you valuable lessons, but you're the one who has to be smart enough to learn them and implement them. And you know what happens when people don't? Turn on the news. Turn on the news. That's what happens when people don't learn the lessons that they should have. And unfortunately, some of these lessons that needed to be learned, they have not been learned for not decades, not centuries, but literally thousands of years. The lessons have not been learned. We're still squabbling over things that happened 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. At what point do we start looking forward and we say, you know what, the misgivings and the decision making and the terrible things that have happened in the past, we were not the ones responsible for that. We weren't. Even if it was our ancestors who were, that's not on us. We didn't do that, and we have to stop blaming and assuming blame for things that we took no part in doing. We have to get to the point where we understand this world can be the most magical, amazing, incredible place we've ever experienced. Or it can be the most horrific, terrible, awful place that a person could imagine. Between the two, it's up to us. That's what's going to make the difference between those two options. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I would much rather have this be that wonderful, amazing place where people can learn to grow, they can learn to flourish, they can learn to help each other, be there for each other. We need to become the people that we were always meant to be. Instead of just becoming another version of this regurgitated thing that we keep spitting out as a result of anger and fear and frustration and all of these other negative things. We have to get to the point where we can finally say, you know what? It's going to start with me. It's going to start with me. I'm going to do it, despite what anybody else on this planet does. And if we can get one person who does that, and then we can get 2 people who do that, and then we can get 3 and 4 and 10 and 100 and 1,000 and 100,000 and 1,000,000, and eventually, you know what? We can create the utopia that this world could be, but that we have not allowed to happen because of selfish wants and needs and negative emotions. We have to start someplace. And I know it's not easy for anybody. And all I'm going to do, you know what? I'm going to commit to do my part. I'm going to do the very best that I can to treat my fellow man and woman on this planet with dignity and respect. Whether I agree with political views or whatever else. Favorite colors, favorite foods, none of that stuff matters. We have to stop being so petty in our world that that anybody would be okay with some of the things that are happening right now. We have to be outraged. We have to say to ourselves, I would not let this happen on my watch. And if we can all get to that point, I think our world is going to be a much, much better place. So I appreciate you guys listening to me rant a little bit. I hope you understand where this is coming from. I think humanity deserves much better, and I know that you do. Get those steps in, drink plenty of water, be safe out there, and until the next video, take care.